We are here at the river, a key breeding site for the black fly. The fast-flowing and species-rich waters have provided an optimal breeding ground for the flies. This has caused the flies to have a very high reproduction capacity and a tremendous transmission potential. In order to achieve sustainable levels of control, in 1974, the OCP programme was introduced in West Africa. This was solely focusing on fly control. The programme began with regular helicopter deliveries of insecticide over black fly breeding grounds. This involves spraying thousands of kilometres of rivers with insecticides each week. This was effective to some extent, with it preventing over 40 million people from infection and 600,000 people from blindness before the programme was ceased in 2002. The regular spraying caused juvenile worms to become resistant to the... So to combat this resistance, they applied bacteria that had insecticidal properties. They applied bacteria that had insecticidal properties to selected rivers. These were great because they produce a range of toxins, so there's less chance of the worm developing resistance to the insecticide. A rotation of different insecticides also helped in this cause. Another control programme was the APOC, which was implemented in 1995, and it targeted the infective stage of the parasite. The APOC pioneered mass distribution of the product ivermectin. Over the course of the programme, more than 119 million people were treated with ivermectin. However, due to the fact it is only useful at reducing parasite loads, and it being a community-directed treatment, it is not a sustainable long-term solution for the elimination or even the complete eradication of the disease. This programme was ceased back in 2015 when the World Health Organization revealed their new intention of eliminating the disease. The ESPEN replaced the APOC to focus on more direct delivery of treatments. Elimination is recognised as a more feasible effort than the continuation of the current control methods. In 2016, more than 129 million people were treated under this programme. This programme focuses on priority countries in Africa such as Cameroon and Colombia. Until elimination is achieved, the socio-economic development of endemic geographical areas will remain constrained.
Thanks for that information, Shannon. Not to put a downer on the whole situation though, there's a few challenges I have to point out. Firstly, in relation to the use of ivermectin, although the use of ivermectin has been useful up until now, its continued use is not sustainable. Whilst it is effective against the juvenile larval stages, it is only slightly effective against the adults. As such, to reduce the number of parasites to an acceptable level, we would have to deliver high rates of the ivermectin for a long period of time, and this could increase your control programmes up to 15 to 17 years. Is this really feasible? Secondly, we need to consider that some areas of Africa experience co-infection with another type of filarial worm called the Loa Loa. If we were to use ivermectin for these individuals, this would result in a serious encephalopathy, that is, a serious and potentially fatal side effect of the brain. Therefore, we need to consider that in some areas of Africa, the use of ivermectin is simply inadequate. Its cost will outweigh any benefit that might be derived from its use. Like many other treatments, there is also the threat of drug resistance to consider. If we were to continue using ivermectin at such high rates of application for such a long period of time, there is an ever-increasing threat that drug resistance would develop. No instance of drug resistance has been noted as of yet. However, it is appearing less efficient in more and more areas. Now, there is an alternative drug called moxidectin. This is also a microfilarial treatment in that it kills the juvenile stages, and it is actually more effective than ivermectin in many situations. We have to come back to the fact though that in co-infected areas that have the Loa Loa, it won't be effective. Really what we need to do is to develop a macrofilaricidal drug, one that targets the adult worms. Currently, the DNDi is developing such a drug. It is hoped that it will be approved for use by the end of this year, so hopefully we can start being able to see some proper results. Now, As far as I've been told, we're about to experience a very exciting interview with one of the researchers at the University of Liverpool. We can now cut across to...
Ooh, what's happening? I'm sorry, we requested a meeting with you today. Oh, yes. 1 second. Hi there. So today we're at the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine to interview one of their researchers. So here in the school, you're investigating new ways of treating river blindness. Could you tell us a bit more?
Yes, we are particularly focusing on antibiotics for the treatment of onchocerciasis.
Onchocerciasis.
And we are now, this is obviously not a bacterial infection, however the worm inside has bacteria that are essential for its survival and also its reproduction. Also, the bacteria within the worm are the disease-causing agent. So if we treat these bacteria, we can effectively treat the disease and also reduce the burden of worms. So this research has been really vital, and I think it should receive a lot of attention in this elimination. If you want to help the elimination program today, please call 0800 305 305 and we can buy coffee for every side. Oh no, wait, that's not what I want to say. We can treat the whole people in Africa for river blindness.
Well, this is an advantage, but why should we develop a new drug if the old drug is still effective and has been donated for the treatment of river blindness?
So of course, as I said, it is really important to have this research. Please text 8100 305 305. It is true that ivermectin is a very effective drug. However, it is also a problem in some endemic areas where Loa or eyeworm is co-endemic, as the treatment with ivermectin can lead to horrific side effects such as coma, death and nerve damage. However, this has not been the case with the antibiotic treatment, so it is really important that we have this treatment and that we have this research into it.
So going into the future, what do you think are the greatest threats that we face?
Well, do you mean except for the nuclear war that's impending? Well, so the biggest threats that are to the elimination program itself is probably that there will be reservoirs left over. So the thing that we can do is we have to remap the whole area to find any reservoir or any people that are left with the disease but are asymptomatic. We can do this now that we have a rapid diagnostic test. It's very similar to a pregnancy test, only that we use blood to find out if there's antibodies. And this can be used to remap the disease, and then we can effectively treat all areas.
And are people generally on board with these treatments, or do you face a bit of opposition?
No, people are generally on board. Obviously, it's a horrific disease and it has had a lot of economic value. However, we face problems in areas where there's political instability. Democratic Republic of Congo, where there has been unrest and the treatment cannot be delivered.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us today. It's certainly been a very insightful experience.
Yes.
I really hope you get your coffee.